Hello everyone, Dr. Christina Cantu here, Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine, and you are watching Natural Talk TV. This is the place to be to create a life that is happy and healthy naturally. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different today. A lot of you have been having questions about some of the case studies that we've been posting on our page, and it usually has the hashtag real results right after whatever it is that we talk about. And one of the ones that we most recently talked about, we had a lot of questions about. And so if you've ever gone through menopause or perimenopause, or you're going through it right now, we want you to pay attention because we're going to show you how to leverage natural medicine to get relief from your hot flashes and all of your other menopause symptoms. Now, in this case study, I've outlined a strategy that I used for one of my clients using natural medicine to decrease hot flashes in 3 weeks. And the best part was that they never came back for her. So I've been doing this now for about 10 years, using many different natural therapies to approach hot flashes and other menopause symptoms. And this is probably the most powerful thing that I've discovered to help decrease hot flashes and other menopause symptoms. So no better way to do that than to show you a real life example. Let's talk about Belinda. She was 52 years old. That's not her real name, of course. We always protect our clients. So Belinda, 52 years old. Let's give you a little bit of background about her. She had been suffering with extreme menopausal symptoms for 5 years before turning to natural medicine. She had never used natural medicine for anything before, so she was really skeptical about it. And it started to interfere with her career, her life, her relationships. But she was willing to give just about anything a try because she was really suffering. So these are the symptoms that she was struggling with. She had hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, and was extremely irritable. So her hot flashes, basically she would have a hot flash every 10 minutes, waking and sleeping. It would start from below and it would move up to her face. The heat was intense, and she described it as feeling like someone has poured hot water all over me. It would make her feel faint and weak, and it would last for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And so remember, this happened every 10 minutes for her, so just imagine that. So before it would happen, she would get this strange feeling like something really horrible was going to happen, and when it was done, she was drenched in an embarrassing sweat all over her body, and her face was bright red. And because it was happening so often and had been going on for so long, she was starting to feel exhausted and weak. Now that was her hot flashes. Her anxiety, because she had been having these hot flashes for so long, she was starting to feel really anxious about them. She would feel like she would never be able to escape from them, and she felt like life would never be enjoyable again. And because they would strike so often, she was anxious about where she would be when they happened, and she was very conscious of being sweaty and her face turning bright red and feeling annoyed in front of people. She didn't want to feel like that. And often when this would happen, she would feel like being alone, and she really didn't want others around her, not even her own husband. And so it was really starting to affect her in ways that she wasn't happy about. Now, her night sweats, homeopathically speaking, this symptom basically counts as the same as her hot flashes because they didn't happen any differently from her hot flashes during the day. But the distinct difference to her was that it was happening at night. So she would feel the sweat more profoundly since she was surrounded by bedding and bed covers and that kind of a thing. Not only that, it was waking her so often. She was not getting a good night's sleep and hadn't ever since these hot flashes had begun, 5 years previous. I can't even imagine it. And so this, of course, was making her anxiety even worse. And last, the irritability. Belinda used a different choice word for this emotion that I cannot share here, but I can tell you that it rhymes with witch. So needless to say, 5 years of scalding water, hot flashes, waking multiple times a night, combined with her exhaustion and weakness, had taken a huge toll on her, and she was just not acting the way she normally would have. She no longer wanted to be around people, her husband, her children even, and she felt like if she was alone forever, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I realized that with a client like Belinda, I didn't have time on my side. I could have gone in a lot of different directions and tried different supplements and herbs, and some of them would probably be wonderful, probably would have helped her out. But if she didn't see progress soon, I knew that she would lose hope. So with that in mind, here's what I did. So this was my strategy. So they were really severe, her symptoms, and they were so striking to me that I decided to focus on homeopathic medicine for helping her to overcome them. In addition to the symptoms that I just described before, she also mentioned a few other things that stood out to me because they were so strange or intense. And homeopathically speaking, once again, they're important. Combined with the symptoms before that I described before, this is what led me to pick the right remedy that I picked for her. So one of them was that she was particularly sleepless after 3 a.m. She would wake all night, but she really could never go back to sleep, or feel sleepy after this particular hour. She was also very easily offended by others. Now, that wouldn't be important to your general practitioner or your OBGYN, but that's really important to me. A mere look from a colleague that she didn't like was enough to offend her, and she would feel insulted by it all day long. And she was also very sensitive to noise. She didn't even like the sound of a fan running. And she had a very intense desire to eat pickles every single day. And if she could, she would pour pickle juice on her salads. She would just guzzle it from the jar. It was just her one joy that she could enjoy all day. Now, based on these symptoms and the symptoms outlined in the first part that I just talked about, I selected the homeopathic remedy called sepia. I recommended she take 3 pellets once a day, every day for 4 weeks, and then return for a follow-up visit. I also encouraged her to change her diet and begin exercising because I knew that was going to help her out a lot because it really does have a whole lot of beneficial effects for the menopausal woman. And I was very ready with specific recommendations and resources for her, but she wasn't interested in that. And she said she didn't want to invest a whole lot of time and energy into other things because she simply didn't have it. And she asked if she could work her way up to that. And I agreed to that setup because of the nature of her exhaustion, and I didn't want to overwhelm her, even though I knew that if she did those things, she would see results maybe faster. So I did not recommend any other supplements or herbs at this point for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to be able to isolate what was responsible for her improvement if she experienced any. And 2, she made it very clear to me that she did not want to be on multiple things. So fair enough. And so it's always best to start simple, and I agreed with that. And so these were the results. Even though Belinda was supposed to follow up with me in 4 weeks, she canceled her follow-up visit. And I was really sad about that, and I wasn't sure if that meant that it didn't help her or if she didn't like the medicine or she didn't like me, or I wasn't sure. And then 3 months later, she called me up and said that she wanted to follow up. And this is what she told me. I didn't follow up for 3 months because my hot flashes disappeared. She said there was a difference almost immediately. The first 3 days or so, her hot flashes at night stopped happening, and she was actually able to sleep through the night for the first time in years. During the day, her hot flashes were still happening, but they weren't as severe, and her face wasn't turning red anymore. By the end of a week, the daytime flashes were reduced to about half of what they were, and the night ones were still gone. And by the second week, she was actually having energy and was feeling alive again. The anxiety she was getting before her hot flashes was starting to go away, and by the end of the second week, it wasn't happening anymore. At the end of the second week, the overall anxiety about her hot flashes was at about half of what it normally was, and by the third week, it was completely gone. This was when she wanted to start socializing with people. She started calling friends, started actually, wondering where her husband was. And this was when she realized she was no longer irritable, largely due to her improvement and that she was now able to sleep. It wasn't until the end of the third week when she was at dinner with some coworkers on a patio outside on a summer night that she realized she hadn't had a hot flash all day. And things have stayed that way for her ever since. Now, I followed up with her maybe 2 months after that, and she continued to remain free of the symptoms that she had initially come to me with. At this point, we agreed that there was no longer a need for her to follow up with me, and so, we released her and she went on her happy way. Because there weren't many moving parts to her health plan, there was no need for me to break it down and wonder what was responsible for making her better. And it was obviously the homeopathic remedy, but not all cases are like this, and the speed with which Belinda improved is extraordinary. It was indeed a success, but after studying her case, I came to the conclusion that there were 2 reasons why this strategy I used for her worked so well. One is that Belinda had complete honesty with me. She was able to share very uncomfortable feelings, symptoms, and characteristics about herself in illustrating detail. For example, being witchy or easily offended or annoyed by others. A lot of people don't like to admit that because, they're afraid of how it might make them look. Now, these details are never necessary when you see a normal GP or an OBGYN, like I said. And they may seem like they have no place when you're creating a health plan for you, but for the homeopathic practitioner, these details are vital. And it was these details that were most helpful to me as I looked for the remedy most appropriate for her. And I wholeheartedly believe they were responsible for the degree of success that she experienced. Belinda also had awareness. That was another reason why this was so successful. She was very in tune with her symptoms. Women going through menopause frequently are, since they experience them so intensely and so often. But Belinda's level of attention was unique. She knew when her symptoms happened, how they happened, every detail. This case would have been a lot harder to crack if she had not paid any attention to the rhyme and reason of her symptoms or her body, and she just expected some quick fix in a bottle. So it was nice that she was able to understand and listen and be aware. All in all, a very nice case, even though I would have liked Belinda to have followed up according to schedule to ensure that her symptoms didn't change or make sure she was, she didn't need anything else, any more support. We got the right remedy. She was able to get better really, really fast, and there you have it. That is how we naturally decreased hot flashes in 3 weeks without diet and without exercise. And so now I want to hear from you. Did you like this video? Are you going through menopause or perimenopause? What do you do? What do you do to help yourself from the hot flashes, the night sweats, the anxiety, the dry skin, anything that you might be going through. What is it that you do, and what have you had success? What have you had success with? Let's share everything that we might be able to benefit from, or that we have benefited from in the past, so that we can help someone else that might be watching this right now. They might really benefit from it. So head on over to my Facebook page, facebook.com/ChristinaCantu-ND, and leave a comment now. And while you are there, be sure to like and follow the page. You'll get some exclusive content, some special giveaways, and insider-only secrets I don't share anywhere else. Remember that building the life and health you want happens one step at a time. Don't forget to stop and enjoy the journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Natural Talk TV.